Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Everse Chat. This episode is brought to you by my refrigerator.
Everse Chat.
Welcome back, everybody, and happy Friday. I hope you had a very productive week out there. We are going to continue with our Houston series for this episode, and today is really about getting started. We're diving more into getting started and the different sacrifices that you have to make and the mindset that you have to have going into business. For those of you looking for some motivation, stay tuned to the very end because Travis dropped some very, very insightful and motivational knowledge on you there. So be sure to stick around to hear that. Before we get into the conversation, just a quick update. Based on some feedback that we got, we are going to start a new segment that I really hope you will enjoy called Story Time. So with Story Time, I'm just going to share some funny stories that I have just throughout my experience. Some of them will be relevant to the theme, and some of them will just be, hey, because it just happened and it's hilarious. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that. Look for that on episode 5. Let's get into it. All right, and it's a new day, new topic. Today we have my good friend Travis. Last time you got a chance to know a little bit about him and his business. I'm pretty sure you will find out more as we continue down this, what I'm just going to call a Houston series. While we're down here in hot and can't decide what to do in Houston. Is it going to rain or what? We don't know. But yeah, so moving a little backwards here, but it's a pretty important topic, getting started. So again, Everse Chat is really for people looking to get started, people that have just started, people that, just want to hear from a different perspective. So we're just going to explore getting started. Don't really know where this one's going to go, but I'm pretty sure it'll be funny. And if it's not funny, then it'll probably be hilarious because I thought it was funny. Yeah, so getting started. So I think the way that we'll go about this is, just share our getting started stories. Travis, you can go ahead and go first.
All right. Wow. When I got started, it's funny. I was going to community college in Tampa. It was Hillsborough Community College. Still not my favorite community college ever. But so as soon as I got my camera, I was excited. I wanted to go ahead and test around and shoot with it. But I got down like the composition and everything. The part that I really needed to get started on was the business aspect of it. And that was a whole nother beast, within itself. I didn't know how much I should be charging. I didn't know, what would be a good price to start with or anything. And I started off, charging $45 for like 20 images. And, I knew, I charged that low because I didn't edit at the time. Like, I didn't know how to do any skin retouching or anything. But, thankfully, I met Kel, and Kel was able to help me structure an actual business plan and get into motion with everything. I didn't like community college because they weren't teaching me anything about the business part of photography or starting up your own business. And if anything, it really just took away my time from it. And I feel if I had stayed there, I wouldn't have gotten anything together, to be honest.
Okay. So I think we just heard that I am the person responsible for Travis quitting school. I hope that's not the case, but if it is, then I guess it is.
I'm gonna have to say that. I'm gonna have to say this seriously though. Is that it? Just school wasn't for me, and it didn't make any sense for me to be in school any longer just to rack up a ridiculous amount of debt that I'm not gonna want to pay back afterwards. So I'd rather go ahead and I told the teacher that I was dropping out. And she told me, you'll never be as great as a photographer as you could be with a degree. And I said, well, you know what? We'll see. And I just dropped out and then hit the ground running. And it's not an overnight thing. You're not going to be successful within a matter of weeks or months. I mean, it's been about 5+ years for me, and I'm just now making some actual, money from this. But I couldn't be any happier.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I agree with that. That the road to getting started. Let's put it this way: if you're sitting at your desk or driving home from work, wherever you are, you're thinking, "Hey, I want to start a business, and I'm going to start it, and I'm going to make millions of dollars." You're not, and for those of you that do, you're very lucky. It is not a overnight thing. Lots of people see, these businesses that just seem to pop up, and assume that they're an overnight success. But you really should consider that, that quote unquote overnight success came with lots of overnights staying up, working. Oh man, like what was that? Tony Baker, plotting and stewing and plotting. It takes a lot of effort, whether that's physical effort, depending on what you're doing, or mental effort, which is also a very real thing that a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people devalue the mental effort that you put into something. What are some? I think for Travis, you just take pictures.
Oh yeah.
Why do you want to charge $100 for 10 pictures? You just take pictures. Yeah, you can say that he just takes pictures, or you can say that he's the launch pad for some people's careers. There have been plenty of models that have used his work to get somewhere. Is that a just thing? Is that a you just do X? Another really funny one that I hear all the time for pharmacists is you just count pills. I don't know what they were doing all that time in school, because now most pharmacists are doctors of pharmacy. It's like going to a pediatrician and saying you just save babies or something. The point is everybody's craft is valuable, and getting started, you have to really, really convince yourself that what you're doing has value, because there will be a lot of people that say you just do insert your craft here, and that word just is a killer. It kills it kills a lot of dreams before you or I have a chance to really see. Getting into my particular getting started story, that was something that I covered very cursory in the original episode of Everse Chat. But my getting started, I don't know how many times I've been fired from a job for this job. At this point, I am a firm believer that if you have not been fired from a job for pursuing a dream, you're not doing it right.
That's what I was talking about with me going to Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not doing it right, because you're splitting your attention. And I mean, the sad thing is, yeah, of course we need money, and that's why we kind of use those other jobs as stepping stones. And of course you want to show respect for that job, but you also need to be aware of who you are investing in. I did a talk with some students of my good friend Wayne Watts, and I asked them, how many of you want to be in business? Of course, most of them raised their hand because it was a business talk, so I was hoping that most of them did. And then I said, how many of you are know about stocks? And then they're, yeah, that's good for business, and you need to invest in such and such. And how do you invest? And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not a stockbroker, so I don't know. But how many of you have taken that equal time to at least study, why it's important to invest and invest in yourself? So if there were a whole bunch of stocks on that board, and then one was your name, would you invest in it? And that's something that you need to ask yourself too, is, how much am I investing in myself? Am I increasing the value of my stock, or am I increasing the value of somebody else's stock? And yeah, you can have multiple stocks. There's nothing wrong with having multiple jobs, and sometimes more than one of those jobs is something for yourself, and that's good. You have a diverse portfolio, but that's something to keep in mind on, keep your eye on, rather. My startup story. Wow, I went on like a huge tangent. Squirrel. Yeah. So very first business is the one that I started with my brother, and that's the one in the office that we're shutting down, and we're actually just kind of moving everything to its own place. We have a office with 7 offices in it, and each one is kind of belongs to a different business that we have, and we're just saying, maybe we should give them all their own special attention. But that business, we started that in 2010, 2011, and at the time I was in Nevada, then I moved to Florida to help develop it, then I got tired of Florida and I moved back to Colorado, and then my brother moved out here to Houston, so it'll take you some places. But yeah, our startup story was, it was research, and I had to sit there and this is where I met Travis. We both oh geez, we both worked at Walgreens as slaves. Employees, and I was the head shift lead.
Yeah.
Read between the lines there. And I had to sit there and tell this guy, we will not use his name. If you're listening to this, then you know exactly who you are. That my business was nothing but research. And when we started getting, how can I say this in a way that won't eventually lead to something else? When we started being competitive with Walgreens in a certain particular manner, he asked me, he said, "Hey, do you know who this company is?" I never told him my company name because they're whooping us in this category. And I said, I don't know who that is. I don't know. That's something that is substantial. And I just kind of left it at that. And then I left the office just grinning because I knew that I had just spanked Walgreens and something. Yeah, so that's kind of a very, very discombobulated origin story for myself. But just thinking about getting started, it can seem very daunting. So Travis, what are some tips, tricks for people to keep in mind when they've decided, okay, I know what I want to do, or I think I know what I want to do. What's some advice you have for?
Oh man, confidence is one. You have to be confident in yourself and confident in your work and confident in your abilities. And who cares about what anybody else says as long as you know that you're growing and you're making your your progression. That's all that matters. Another thing, it may sound weird, but you got to be stubborn. Um, you got to be stubborn at pursuing your passion. I mean, be as stubborn as a Dallas Cowboys fan. Um, you got to be as stubborn as a Dallas Cowboys fan. Like they'll swear up and down that that's the greatest team in the world, but the point being is that you need to stay on track with what you want. Understand that your job, your 9 to 5, quote unquote, is just a means to an end. All right. So don't call yourself, don't put in the unnecessary extra hours or overtime for them when you don't need to. Put in that overtime and that extra time for what you want and your goal and what you want to do. Every minute, every hour, every second, it all counts. You need to, once you clock out, you clock out. Don't clock out and rush home just to sit down and watch TV. You clock out and rush home so you can get to building on your craft again. Man, there's a lot of things. But that was I think those are the two biggest things because it was my confidence that wasn't really high up because I didn't know if I was good enough in the beginning because I wasn't getting a lot of shoots. I thought maybe if I can go ahead and lower the prices, I'd start getting more. That wasn't right because then I wasn't really making any money. So how if and I had to ask myself if I really wanted to quit this job and do photography full time, how am I going to do that with these low prices? And then I had to go ahead and talk to Kel, of course, and then he he helped point me into the right direction because what you guys don't know is that we have two different upbringings. All right, I come from the hood. All right, I come from a gritty side of life that a lot of people don't end up becoming business people outside of that unless they become rappers and maybe they got an acting gig or something. But the point being is that I didn't know how to handle myself in a professional setting. And Kel definitely provided the education for me to understand and to break down certain I'm gonna say languages and ways of doing business. And till this day, I mean, I've gotten a lot better at it, and I'm really good at sending emails now. I was frightened to send emails at first. Like I didn't know what to type or how to start off typing. And I'd be like, Kel, can you just start it off and then I'll like try to, run off from there. He's like, no, you got to do it yourself or else you're not going to learn. So, if you have somebody in your corner, man, or if you know somebody, learn from those people, your teachers, shoot, you can even learn from the people that you work with. Take everything that they do and, learn how they do it and then apply that to your own business. But just don't be as conniving as they are. That's morally that's wrong. But that's all I have for now.
Don't be as conniving as they are. Well, I don't know. I'm flattered. Thanks. Yeah, I definitely think that having a mentor or mentoring somebody else. Those are both really great ways to learn. I would say that for me, a step past but still in the getting started place is maintaining that start. What really has helped me out is mentoring high school kids. It's something that I still love to do just because it keeps me grounded and it keeps me focused on the foundation, on I sound like a football coach, on the fundamentals. Or stay with the fundamentals. but keeps you focused on what's important and what are good to haves but not essential. So yeah, in getting started, you always need to keep an eye on where you're from, and where you're going as well. That way you have perspective.
I mean, the only thing I can say is that for those of you who are getting started, literally, you have to be stubborn at this. All right? It doesn't make sense for you to say that I've been working at it for 3, 4, 6, 8 years, and then you're just going to give up and go back to sitting in that cubicle or at that register. I mean, I know for me, that's not my destiny. That's not what I want. If you really want to do something, you can do it. All right. This is literally, I feel like you have opportunity, any place can be the land of opportunity, but if you have the opportunity to do something, you need to take it and don't hesitate on walking out that door. Just understand it's going to be a long, tough road. All right. You might lose your shoes, but you can buy some more once you get to your destination. So.
Very, very true. All right, Travis, thanks for weighing in today. And that concludes part 2 of 3 of our Houston series. If you want to catch the conclusion to our Houston series with a pretty funny comment from Travis, you can look for that on Patreon or SoundCloud. Be sure to check in next Friday for episode 5, where we will begin our first ever EVC story time. Again, that was brought to you by someone in the comments, and I am all about incorporating those things. So until then, be safe, have fun, and be creative. Talk to you later.